I know very little about Travis Scott. I know that Astroworld has been recommended quite a bit, which is the main reason why he's on my radar. And I feel like some people are gonna get a little mad at me for listening to Utopia first, but that's generally what works for me, okay? We have 19 tracks. Oh my god, okay. Utopia, Travis Scott. Let's begin. Oh, this has to be a little louder. Okay, this shit is out of control. I'm driving through hell and I done brought snow. What a strong introduction to Travis Scott's rap style and production value. I love when albums start with a heavy hitter. It just puts me in a good mood for the rest of the ride. Write a show by myself like I'm Chelsea Handler, or write a series by my bitches like I'm Kelsey Grammer. Nickname the Jet Jayhawk cause it's... And very similar to other artists that we've listened to that want to create something bigger than just music. They want to create whole worlds. I definitely see the same with Travis here, which is always really fun, really immersive. And if you have the means to do it, why not, you know? You know it's slamming water while we gotta fill the stands up with slaps in the anthems. Poetic justice, I got you in all my stanzas. The foundation of the track seems to be the breakbeat. Not only is the syncopation infectious, but the kick and bass are both very tight, especially in contrast to the looser bells and other grooved instruments. Like a jingle to do 'em all, we too much involved to spend a single ounce of time. She bust a whole ounce by doing lines. I had to leave like the leaves do trees. I finally home, my wife distressed them, not just that sweat. We took them 35 to 1. There are a few couplets in here where he makes really strong setups, replaces an expected word or phrase to fit the meter, and has homophones nearby to help our minds fill in the blanks. I think it's so clever. Oh.
Mother Earth is pregnant for the third time. For y'all have knocked her up.
George Clinton. The name George Clinton sounded familiar because he was featured in Wesley's Theory and Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. Anyway, the synthy outro is so spacey. I could definitely picture it being an opener at a concert or festival in addition to the album. I really like this section. Very strong opener. I like it. I also really like his voice. Honestly, I've ever only heard him talk in an interview. I think he did an interview with Kylie Jenner for like some sort of couples thing that I have watched before. I only remember him being very timid and not super talkative, not super responsive, which, you know, I can't really fault him for. I'm the same way. Yeah, he definitely has like a rock star voice. Very powerful introductory track. Really grungy drums. I do wish that the bass line was a little louder. I don't know if it's just my setup, but I feel like it has a really strong bass line. It's just not being highlighted enough. I really do love that outro too because it builds a lot of suspense for me where I'm just like, okay, where are we going next? Like, it feels like I am being transported to the next track. I won't doubt it. He won't mislead all his followers. The soundscape of this track reminds me of a clock ticking. It's persistent, drawing attention to our limited time on Earth and applying pressure on us to make the most of our lives and be grateful for them. In other words, YOLO. Got God on the line. To the devil I'm fine. He always trying his best. Despite how formulaic the synth build-up felt to me on first listen, I can't deny its effectiveness in developing into the third verse. It's a preparation, intentionally slower and more spacious, to contrast with Travis's barrage of rap to follow. Oh. A sub drop. Still no pressure. And the strings. Thank God I breathe. Travis tells us his motivations, competing with his past projects, as well as being able to financially support and spoil his daughter, Stormy. Storms are minor, but you know she living major. When you flying up the side, ain't no cables. Shit so lit, what happened in Vegas and stay in Vegas. Interesting. I do like the orchestral take that this one has. The instrumental I prefer on this one than over the lyrics. The lyrics I feel like are a little weak, especially in the second verse. I was just kind of like, okay. It is really sweet that he included Stormy in this, even just for a little ad-lib. Yeah, this does get me really pumped up for the rest of the album. I was kind of worried about it being 19, but it feels like the pacing will be fine. I feel like it'll be fine. I do love the style of production that's a little more moody, a little more like evil villain theme kind of almost. It's really exciting. The instrumental itself is really dark, even though in all of it he's saying thank God. He's saying, you know, tell the devil I'm fine. He's always trying. Like that he's above that basically. I don't know. So even though it sounds like the turn of a character from one side to another, maybe. I don't know. Either way, very cinematic. I love it.
To the maker, vibrator.
His fervent preaching is fantastic. It creates a sense of engagement and excitement. He's getting the congregation fired up, and I feel ready to go forth and annihilate.
The way I make it jump, I make it hard to breathe. It's like
I feel like the entire album can be summed up by the following lyrics.
Get this shit my all, but don't give a damn. Even in the winter, it's a summer jam. I told her buckle up, cause it's going down. It's like I know you lying outside, waiting in line, getting to one at a time.
Tizo Touchdown's performance absolutely levels up the theatrics and flamboyance of the atmosphere. Very interesting voice. I wrote in my notes that I don't see myself coming back to this track much, but it absolutely has grown on me. Okay, so the impression that I'm getting is all three of these do sound like introductory tracks. This one, it's so interesting because it's called Modern Jam, but it sounds kind of, I don't know, it sounds kind of like early 2000s, maybe even earlier. I do like Tizo Touchdown's voice though. I think that it fits very well on this style. And I'm pretty sure this is a Daft Punk reference. I'm sure if I click this, it's going to say that. Yeah, okay, that's why it sounded familiar. French DJ and producer Guy Manuel is one of the track's producers and is best known for being one half of the legendary electronic music duo Daft Punk. R.I.P. Daft Punk. So there's that going for this. I don't know. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it, though. It feels a little long for the concept, but I don't know. Maybe that's also what they were going for. Something kind of hypnotic. I don't know. Bon Iver? Hello? And Sampa. The instrumental of part 1 sounds intentionally amateurish with hissing, dulled tones and artifacts from excess distortion. I don't mind that at all. I actually love a good lo-fi sound, but okay, sorry. I feel like they could have leveled this part a little bit better, the pre-chorus with Bon Iver, because it sounds like they're going for a 22 a million style with the distorted vocals playing as kind of an instrument, but it's so quiet, especially right next to the very loud other melody that's playing alongside it. It's a little distracting to me, but that's okay. 22 a million, by the way, probably one of my favorite albums ever. So timeless.
10,000 on my eyes.
It's mad how I got something. It's mad how I got so high. It's mad how you get me far.
Oh, Sampa. Hearing Sampa on here made me fall in love with his voice all over again. He has such a comforting, safe tone. I just wish we heard more of him. Oh. This is so beautiful.
Look in my eyes, tell me your tale, do you see the road? I'm out to my soul.
It's nostalgic, like memories are rushing in, flooding my eyes. It mirrors my own emotional landscape. I feel like I could almost touch it, and it's bittersweet that I can't.
That shit by the state I'm in here, I took it for zero. The flame you saying, I read it for miles. The shit wasn't luck, they got me fucked up. I put you on bus and take you around. With a couple of guys inside of the school, I gave them the tools.
The verse maintains a level of ambiguity and complexity, a poignant balance that adds to the emotional richness. Not so much because of the lyrics, but because of the beautiful instrumental paired with the drone of his voice. Oh my god, I love this one so much. Not only does it have Bon Iver and Sampa, who are two of, like, I don't know, artists that I really love. But the second part, honestly, it made me a lot more emotional than I was expecting. I almost felt like crying toward the end, especially this line, fuck. I've talked about before how a common theme that we've heard, people buying into materialistic things in order to fill a void or feel like, I don't know, they have some sort of control over something. And this line, well, technically, I guess these lines honestly made it click for me because I'm not a very materialistic person. I don't own a lot of things. But when you look at it from this perspective, when it's, I need more whips because I need more speed. I bought a couple more watches. I needed more time. It's just like, oh my God, please expand on this a lot more. I love this. This is so beautiful. I definitely want to revisit this. At first I was like, I don't know, it felt like a little much, like it was trying too hard for something, but the second half really carried, really made up for it, honestly. I kind of wish that they merged them a little bit better so that it wasn't a part 1 and part 2, but I don't know, maybe it makes more sense for the payoff for this. So unexpected though, especially from that first track. I wouldn't have expected these to be on the same album at all. If you're unfamiliar with my process for these videos, I keep a doc with all of my thoughts, notes, and reflections, and those are available on Patreon. But I feel like this section is important to talk about just in general. I said, I believe this was also when Travis addresses the Astroworld Festival crowd crush that happened just a couple years ago. I remember hearing about it, everyone was talking about it, and this was really the only association I've had with Travis Scott since. So this is the line that I pulled out from Genius. I replay them nights, and right by my side, all I see is a city of people that ride with me if they just knew what Scotty would do to jump off the stage and save him a child. I don't doubt that he has felt guilt about the tragedy. I would be worried if he didn't. But personally, I'm a little torn about these lyrics. On the one hand, I think people place an unforgiving amount of blame on only Travis rather than acknowledging that there were failures by multiple parties. On the other hand, I don't think that Travis has taken enough responsibility for his own inactions. It reads to me as though he's saying, I would have done more if I had known what was going on, but we know that he had ample time to figure out what was going on or even say something into the mic during the show. And then I link to an article by the Houston Chronicle that talks about how the show continued for 37 minutes after officials declared it a mass casualty. But again, I don't doubt that he doesn't ruminate over these kinds of thoughts. I just feel as though he hasn't done enough outside of the album to warrant sharing these lyrics. They come across as detached. I mean, the instrumental itself, and I didn't write this, but the instrumental itself was really reflective, and it even made me want to cry. Like, I totally understand why he would include it, because if he is feeling as much remorse as he's telling us that he feels, then obviously this is the perfect place to put it. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the other coverage of it and the general consensus of the recent criminal charges that he, or I guess non-criminal charges, he isn't facing any legal repercussion for this. And this is the most recent verdict from June 29th. This is from CNN. I'll link the article in the description. But it says, in this instance, the grand jury of the 228th District Court of Harris County found that no crime did occur, that no single individual was criminally responsible. It is tragic that 10 innocent people were killed while trying to enjoy an evening of music and entertainment, something many of us do routinely and without a second thought to our safety. But tragedy isn't always a crime. Not every death is a homicide. This grand jury's determination has no impact on the many civil lawsuits pending. And I think that where the civil lawsuits are hopefully where we'll see more of Travis's personal accountability taking place. But yeah, it is really scary. I just wanted to share that quote from the district attorney because it really resonated with me that it is such a tragedy. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say aside from tell your loved ones that you love them. Take care of yourself, be safe, take responsibility for your actions, and learn from them. Be a better person. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. I don't know. And enjoy the rest of the video. Okay. This track is one of my least favorite on the album. I think there are threads of potential and initial excitement, but Travis didn't take the time to flesh out what made it sound special.
Waking up, I see the light. I've been drunk and it's alright. I took the drive to clear my psyche. It's hot as hell where the ice.
It seems like it was left somewhat unfinished after the studio session, lacking the care and attention given to other tracks like My Eyes and Hyena. If anything, the song's placement is purely to highlight how much more powerful its surrounding tracks are.
You decide with no hands. Need more spaces when we jam. In God's country with the fam. Yeah.
Honestly, it feels like they had more fun making the music video than writing the song. The involvement of the community seemed to infuse the video with more passion and excitement than the song itself conveyed. Okay, I think I'm not as much of a fan of this one. Go Ted Bundy, then go home and play Al Bundy. Yeah, not much to say about this one, honestly. The ramp up from the intro to the first verse is incredible. It's a gorgeous balance of teasing and anticipation. I was on the edge of my seat, excited to hear where this track was guiding me.
I was too damn determined. Back in me needed refurbish. I was up top with no service. Watches and art playing verses. They in a couple departments.
There's an old maxim about knowing the rules before you can break them. In the second half of this verse, he plays with the most exaggerated slant rhymes I've ever heard in my entire life. At this point, it's just fun.
Meet me at the Festi VL. Festi VL. Need a reason. From 2 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon. It's a festival right in my room. Soon as the sun up, you know that we doomed. Married person, we out to Cancun, we gon' go, okay. By the way, I be wearing a smile. I know sometimes I be in denial. I know sometimes I'm rocking the
He's kind of funny. Oh. I love this beautiful breath of fresh air, one of my favorite moments on the album. I love that, actually. Oh, that could have hit harder. But then it leads into probably the worst outro skit to ever disgrace my ears. The mouth noises just bother me so much.
It's your hotel room.
Yeah, it looks perfect to me.
Okay. I do wish that the kicks were established a little earlier from the intro into the first verse. I feel like it would have hit a little bit harder, but regardless, I really like this one. I think it has a nice flow to it. It's just very interesting to listen to. And I'm just curious how people know that's Drake just by his voice. That just sounds like anyone. I don't know. But we finally do have an introduction to the album concept. I am looking at it as a concept because there was a whole like rollout and I don't know, I assume there is some lore to it. I just don't really know. The only promotional stuff that I know about is that there is like a briefcase and it's been going on for a while. I know that people, at least on my timeline, have been pointing it out here and there to the point where I saw someone was like, no one cares about the briefcase anymore because it's just been going on for so long. But anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's how you know it was,
rising.
I guess that's how you know it was Drake.
Tea-time. Tea-time. Tea-time, tea-time, tea-time. Tea-time like I got a cup of this shit. Tea-time like golf at a quarter.
I was joking, but okay. I actually really don't mind this Drake verse at all. I actually kind of really enjoy it. I might need to give his older sound a fair shake if it's anything like this. The verbiage is fun, and homophone usage is particularly impressive.
I pull out $1 million to stare at the shit. My dick just got hard cause a wire just hit. My schedule's out, come spin us for real. Man, fuck all that spinning the narrative shit. I melt down the chains that I bought from your boss. Give a fuck about all of that heritage shit. You lucky that Vogue was suing cause I would've been with the Wassers in Paris and shit.
The lyrics here aren't much to pay attention to, but the background ad-libs absolutely take over. Beautiful reflective ahs that firstly remind me of Lil Yachty, and also shape the space of this track. I feel like I'm drifting in it. Part 3. Suddenly, we get an overwhelming, frenetic change in pace. It's quick and intense before finally cooling off into an organic, haunting acoustic guitar. I love that piano, actually. Did that actually happen?
Used to wear the bus down back in my old days. Is you fucking crazy? 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 Is you fucking crazy?
Interesting way to end this. I love it though. Very beautiful. Okay. You all know my opinion on Drake. I'm just really not a fan of his voice, but here I feel like it's very tolerable because it doesn't sound like what I'm used to hearing from him. It sounds like he's trying to embody another artist. I couldn't be able to place who, but I don't know. This doesn't really sound like what I've attached to Drake. I actually don't mind this at all, which is very surprising. And I actually do like some of the lines in here. And we have 3 parts, 2 beat switches, a very interesting song. This part specifically was kind of funny. I think that it's like hard to pull off an E sound, especially as a rhyme scheme. I don't know, it just sounds kind of funny. but they tried. This one, by nature of being a synth-filled, repetitive, hard-hitting track, is a banger. It's a rage anthem. Oh. One of my favorite techniques used in this song are the constant fake-outs woven throughout the later verses. Since we've already heard Fiend chanted 50 times, literally, by the time we get to Cardi's verse, it's less obnoxious and more rewarding to hear it sprinkled less and less throughout the rest of the track. 69 times in total.
I just made part my shit, get it live, hold up, yeah, you try to come around at the shit, they popping your tires, hold up, shit, 100 round, whoa, feeling like I'm on team, playing both sides of these hoes, shot on fucking you, this a whole nother level shot, I got these hoes on their toes, so I put the bitch on the
I've talked previously about how I enjoy the use of breaths to help add energy to these kinds of tracks. I think it adds a lot when Playboi Carti slurs or doesn't finish his words and instead sounds really out of breath. It adds a pulse to the beat.
Everything hit, hold up, everything, who's that?
What? Playboi Carti's voice is very interesting. It took me by surprise and I got kind of lost in where I was reading. I don't know if it was the only time, but definitely the most prominent time that I've heard Playboi Carti was during Igor. And I remember getting so many comments of people being like, you're so lucky that you had the lyrics pulled up because no one understood what Playboi Carti was saying. That's kind of the vibe that I get here. I don't know, maybe that's just the shtick. This one's really fun though. Definitely could see this being a crowd favorite. That's just what happens when you have such a repetitive chorus. I'm not really sure what homicide is. Looks like a reference to an artist. Interesting. Yeah, very fun track. And I definitely feel like it's gonna get stuck in my head a lot. Okay. Beyonce? I don't know if it's just because I binged both seasons of Yellow Jackets last week or what, but this song sounds animalistic and primal, like we're preparing for a hunt or a sacrifice. Our queen bee, Beyonce, offers vocals just as haunting. So glad there's that bass. The drum feels like a heartbeat. It elevates mine even more with each hit. And the bass moves us forward. Beyonce's overlapping vocals create tension. Walk, she says. I might run. Whoa. But I think the trance could have been built up earlier in the music for impact. By the time we get to Travis's main vocal section, the discomfort is already easing. Now it's too predictable and has lost its lead.
It's you a breakfast in the morning. My nights is a normal advice ain't informal. I did try to warn you before they went swoop.
Holy shit. Was that gating or side chaining? But so much. The song drags a lot. I wish it was actually taking us somewhere. Unfortunately, the Bon Iver outro is a bit too disjointed to feel worthwhile. On its own, it's a beautiful section, but I wish it made more sense sonically. Oh. I almost kind of wish that this pre-chorus and chorus were actually at the beginning and that it built up from there. I felt like I wanted it to keep going after this section and then it switched out to the outro with Bon Iver. But I did really love this too. I just wanted more payoff after this, but it's okay. I also know that a lot of people were really excited for this album because of all of the hidden features. Like if you notice on the track listing, no one is named here. It's just kind of like as you're listening, you figure it out or you read it on Genius, as I do. So I think that's a really fun aspect of the album. Beyonce is definitely a name that I wasn't expecting on here, but I also wasn't expecting Sampha and Bon Iver. So, really fun though. I know that Beyonce released like a dance kind of album last year, which I haven't listened to. So it is cool to hear what I assume to be the similar style or ideas that she was going for in that being brought over onto here as a feature. I think it's really cool.
Tell me if you still love. It's 5 a.m. and I'm drunk right now. Tell me, can we still fuck? 101, I'm in the zone right now. Tell me, am I still? I'm telling you just how I feel right now. You say it's just...
The instrumental provides a very full backbone for this track. A busy, hypnotic percussive loop, driving bass, and melancholic piano. I can see how Travis gets lost in thought with this verse.
I get it. Oh, girl, yeah, I get it. Yeah, and you've been fighting for your shot, and you've been searching for your spot. Tell me if you still love. It's 5 a.m. and I'm drunk right now. Tell me, can we still fuck? 101, I'm in the zone right now. Tell me, am I still?
I know, mommy, I know. It's 2 a.m., no stress. At 3, that bullshit kick in. And F29 is my address in case you ain't heard.
F29 is the ICD-10 diagnosis code for unspecified psychosis not due to a substance or known physiological condition. Maybe the question mark in the title indicates that he's just accepting the drugs and alcohol as evidence of his hallucinations of this woman, because it's easier than admitting his strong desire for her.
Right now, you say it's just the drugs, and I know.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying that Travis Scott has this official diagnosis. It could just be used as an exaggeration, saying he's so attracted to her that he can't get her out of his mind.
But then again, I can be drunk.
Oh. I really love that outro. I kind of wish that it was pushed up to the beginning and built up from there. But yeah, very interesting song. It kind of paints a picture to me of like, you know, a toxic cycle with someone else where they're telling you they'll change. They won't do drugs or drink anymore, but then they hit you up, you know, and clearly things have not changed. It's a little self-aware on that part. Obviously, the song is called I Know. I do really like the piano in the back. I really like the moving rhythm. It's very clear. I think that's its strong suit because it is very human to feel like, oh, you don't have to tell me because I already know, I'm very aware, but you know, this is how it is right now. So you don't want to disappoint. You don't necessarily want the pity either. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this for sure.
Twin bitches hopping off a jet ski.
What the fuck? This one is so unserious, it's hilarious. The trap instrumental is just as fun, a song you'd play on a beach day with friends.
Yeah, I can't do no cuddles, can't stay till the morning. She an angel in the streets, a demon undercover.
I'm a little confused by the flow disruption of Rob 49's verse though. Travis seems to overshadow Rob, but then makes way for the next surprise guest.
Twin bitches hopping off a jet ski.
Twin bitches, twin Drakes, twin Glocks, twin jets, charter planes, I don't ride props.
21 Savage's delivery is potent, living up to the hype. The lyrics, subject matter, and rhyme scheme really remind me of his feature on Jid surround sound though.
With a drink while I think bitches get cold in the summer, keep a meat. Tell me what you doing for, then I think another nigga do it for before you blink. It's not electric, this shit gassed up, can you catch it? The Virgin jet ski 10150, check the leverage. Deep in the throat till she tear, I'm a favorite beverage. Ran out of time, made 10 APs, man, I can't retire. Been on the road collecting rubber bands to match a tire.
Since there hasn't been much variety in the instrumentation, the final verse from Travis and the transition into the chorus could probably be tightened up. It feels like they wanted the fantasy of utopia or this twin fetish to last forever.
Tell me what you doing for. Ben, I think another nigga do it for before you blink. Highway moving right behind me a fleet. If she get too annoying, find a beach. Twin bitches twin bitches. Yeah. Twin bitches hopping off a jet ski.
Is oh my god, I don't think I've ever listened to a song that made me laugh this hard. What the fuck? I don't even know if this is supposed to be funny. It just sounds so fucking funny. There is no way they're being serious with this though. And I don't know if it's just because the main song that comes to mind with 21 Savage for me is the collaboration that he did with JID, and it sounds like he makes a reference here. There was another line that reminded me of it, but I can't find it right now. Anyway, oh my god, that's so funny. Twin bitches hopping off a jet ski. This can't be serious. This cannot be serious, right? I'm gonna feel so bad if there's like a completely different meaning to the song, but I don't know. It's just the way that this chorus goes, it's like the chord progression rises. So it sounds like he's like making a very official statement. He's like going to take charge, going to lead in some way. And then it's just like, oh my god. Anyway, it doesn't help that it was led by this first verse by Rob49. Travis, what if they're twins and they're Siamese, but they want to fuck us both? Like, this is a genuine concern that I'm having right now. I cannot take this seriously. Oh my god. Okay, anyway.
Are these the front row seats you wanted? We'll have our final moment.
Oh. I do really love Sway Lee's voice, by the way. For the track itself, I feel like there isn't much substance beyond the energy of the drums and the dreamy synths tacked on. The Weeknd. Jesus Christ. The Weeknd gives a stunning performance, but it's so formulaic that it borders on self-parody. Anyway, some of Travis's lyric work is fun.
We're like Moses walking overseas, and my state begins a country beat. Every part of it is part of me. Tell your parliament, part your house, and you know that we down. If your ass don't know nothing, gotta know that it's time. I'm excited to jump in, so much that I'm flying.
I appreciate the breaths and cathartic screams, but I wish there was a steeper come down into the outro. I wish that went harder too.
I'm waiting on a let go.
As much as the track wanted to move me along, I don't feel like I went on a journey. Instead, I feel like I'm exactly where I was at the beginning of the track. I'm a little disappointed as I feel like this track had a lot of sonic potential. I mean, I'll still listen to it, but... I like that. As much as I love synths, I don't feel exhausted or fatigued enough to justify a minute-long synth break, especially since the drums continue throughout it. Oh, come on. Feels like it's just going and going and going. Bum, 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 bum. Like we're heading in a certain direction. And The Weeknd. We've come full circle. As I've said before, I just love Abel's voice. I think that it is very unique. I think that it's very pretty. I don't know. Very smooth. And I think that it does work here, especially against the roughness of that drum pattern. I might still eat McDonald's, but don't think I'm a Ronald. Why do I have a sudden craving for like a fresh beef quarter pounder with cheese, bacon, and lettuce?
I get up. Fall, but I get up.
In an album full of electronic sounds, it's refreshing to hear the organic strum of a guitar.
Riding parasail, rolling through the grass.
Wow.
Shaded under the trees.
I love the voice manipulation. It feels thick and broken up, panning from ear to ear. He makes promises confirmed by a deep ambient pad.
Fly through the bush, way we gon' rock, way we gon' take a swole, we gon' rock clean, we gon' shake off the mother, riding parasail, rolling through the
It just feels like a warm hug.
shaded under the tree.
The atmosphere of the track is reflective, watching, waiting, but still moving forward. It's beautiful, just something you experience. It's a gorgeous backdrop orchestration, offering an open-ended space for you to reflect on your own story.
I will fight for everything I love forever.
Wonder what you wanna do when you're not with me.
Oh, yeah, this one was definitely very sweet. The name Dave Chappelle definitely rings a bell. I don't know what for. But I do think it's a generally good message. I will fight for everything I love forever, and I will love everything that I fight for forever. I do like this. I do really like this. And Young Lean, I do like Young Lean's voice a lot as well. The main thing that I like with the voice distortion is that it sounds like it's double tracked with like the voice pitched lower and then the voice pitched higher. That's why I said it sounds like a hug, because it feels like I'm right in between them. It's very sweet. This is probably my favorite performance by Travis on the album. It shows his versatility across different flow styles, witty lyrical quips, and emotional delivery.
I move at night when they really can't see me. I ran it back last time, but it ain't last time. I got so much around the house.
I'll admit, I'm biased toward beat switches, and there are 3 parts here that definitely pique my interest. First, we have an orchestral trap beat with a soundscape filled with breaths, hums, and soft harp glissando.
Told you I'ma be right back.
Bling, bling, I get a rush every time I see some diamond. She get it up, she gon' bounce it like she married.
I don't have much to say about Young Thug's verse except to ask for context. Very interesting, Young Thug. A patron mentioned that he is currently behind bars. How is he allowed to record and distribute such isolated verses? This also adds a lot of context to the Free Jeffrey ad-libs. The song is 6 minutes long.
Without going deep, Shakespeare took the squad, brought the play right here. Got the vision and I made that clear. Up from
a little reverse
running plays like the Tennessee Pennants, knowing that I'm the human Pinterest. Need true love, but I know true love's like a friendship. But even Titanic got it.
I love this instrumental. A section of chaotic pitch modulation experimentation provides unnerving gratification. I don't know why I wrote that like that. And a couple extra beat switches. Pieces slowly break apart as we're led into part 3.
To the cold, binary like eyes and nose.
Interesting.
I'm too exposed, I gotta keep curtains closed. To balance all these up and downs, but I keep popping lows.
What
it is what it is, that's just how it goes. My dog just got freed out the precinct. Hit it in my bag, let's hit Turks for the weekend.
I can't place exactly what it reminds me of, but the flow and subject matter of the final section reminds me a lot of Denzel Curry.
Against the odds, I bet on myself. I was the Frank Givens before Thanksgiving. Thanks to my health, too many flaws trying to generate wealth. Man, that's how you go crazy. How they love to talk shit, ain't got no trident. I'm loyal, bitch. I got yay over Biden. I let this shit go off the top. Yeah, no typing.
The bass line is fantastic, colluding with the snaps and strings to keep time at a walking pace before a final attempt at illustrating Travis's disjointed and recurring line of schizophrenic thought. Interesting cut sampling. I really like the instrumental on this one, like really all throughout, but especially the second half. I did find it very interesting that like every verse or maybe every other verse it was shifting pitch, but it kept me enticed. I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics, I will admit, but I'm loyal, bitch. I got yay over Biden. Oh yeah, there was a lot going on in this. I'm gonna have to go through and like catch up the lyrics. Young Thug was very interesting. I don't think that we've heard Young Thug, or maybe I'm forgetting a feature or something, but it did seem a little off to me at first. I don't know if it's intentionally misleading and then it clicks and then that feels very rewarding and then it goes back to being a little off kilter. Very interesting style. I'll keep this in mind because I think that there was another album this year by Young Thug. I could be thinking of something else, but I'll keep that in mind for if I decide to check that out.
Have you ever been lost?
The ticking theme returns in the intro, like I'm following Travis down the rabbit hole, while surreal and nonsensical details try to lure me along the way.
Young black nigga worked at the oceans. So how we here trapped on the oceans. Power, too many hours. All in the day I sent the flowers. Ain't talking roses, I'm talking milder. She jump up, bounce back like trampoline.
Hey yo, whip the cocaine to the pop up.
Suddenly, the lights are off, and we meet Westside Gunn, raw snarls and growls coming from the shadows. A stark contrast from the comfort we assumed but mistook for how wonderful.
Dead by the morning. I can get 30 for the stove. Dior trench shit, head to the flow.
Why did I think Westside Gunn was like older? I don't know, this voice sounds pretty young. But in my head, whenever someone mentioned Westside Gunn, I always pictured someone much older. Someone a little more seasoned, a little more, I don't know, this is just not what I was expecting. Also, just super eerie. I love this.
Socks, Burberry, dick sucks on a visit.
first to earn the strike. 3 strikes in, 25 to life.
Cinematically, I feel like we're panning out, left lost forever, unsure of what's coming next. There's no resolution. We're left here alone. I did not hear James Blake at all.
I get it, love, they love me long time. I get it, love, they love me long time.
While the sequencing has been seemingly random for prior tracks, I'm so glad Love follows Lost Forever. It picks up speed but continues thematically with an intense impact pattern.
Let me long time, they love me, let it show me love. Y'all feel like that? Y'all feel like that?
The instrumental sounds super familiar. It sounds like Kids See Ghosts. The title is stylized similar to one of my favorite tracks off that album, Free, with a few extra E's, but a few extra O's. Travis's voice and humor even sounds a lot like Ye's by the time we reach the second verse, followed by a Kid Cudi feature. His inspiration is clear.
Mama about this baby, hold up. We gon' own the summer. Never stressing, no, we always hit the numbers. Cause we're always stressing, always cuffing different numbers. No, we tired of making shit, you know the streets don't make the plumbers. Drunk something trying to find my keys. I find myself looking down at the stars that be. Stars align. Remember when it was Ramadan? I try a line, I try some crime, I try to dime, but now it's time. Baby, now it's time. Na. Get the love and they give me the dub. Like,
You can't tell me that isn't Ye inspired.
Let me long time. I get it, love, they love me,
I love those drum fills.
Y'all feel like that?
The percussion is fun, keeping the energy high. Then, a grainy synth lead completely disrupts the rest of the instrumental, raising anticipation for the next surprise guest. Kid Cudi.
The night is too young and the love in the air hit me. Follow all the vibes up in every city. Gamble with your life. Think about it, what it to your homie to the night. You don't want it with him. We raise our glasses to madness. The tiny was the asses. Dancing in trances. Baby, since you ready, we about to find out. Don't be mad at the good and found out. And we see a black guy on the job. Yeah, I'm so winning.
Interesting. This, same thing that I said with Drake. I've heard both of their voices before, and they sound so different here. Travis might have been very particular about artist curation on this with the features, especially since they were hyping it up to be like a surprise for you to unravel as you go through these songs. But this does not sound like, at least what I've listened to. I know it's been a few years since Kids See Ghosts, so his voice is bound to sound a little bit different. But even like topic-wise, I know him for being someone very introspective, someone very vulnerable and empowering and like a leader. But here it really does match the rest of what we've heard in Utopia, which is just like self-aware, but it is what it is. Maybe poking fun at it a little bit even. I don't know, very interesting. Okay, and then I know K-pop came out already, so I knew that Bad Bunny and The Weeknd were on it, but it'll be interesting to hear what it sounds like. This track is pure summer background music. Although I don't mind the typical mid-tempo reggaeton beat, it doesn't really offer much else. I love this kick.
Can't forget about that place we went right after you put that in. Te lo meto al frente de la playa, como aquellos tiempos, de camino a Maya.
I already expected to enjoy all 3 vocal performances, and I think Travis anticipated that. The song's entire purpose is to be light entertainment for as large an audience as possible. However, I literally rolled my eyes at The Weeknd's opening lines.
Mix the drugs with the pain. Let the waves lead the way. No, I'm rolling my face up.
He describes getting high off the K-pop, which apparently are lollipops infused with ketamine. I really don't think that's a thing. It sounds disgusting and ineffective. Let's be clear, I do not condone recreational ketamine use. I just don't get why this song is about K-pops other than to intentionally start discourse over whether the song is actually about Korean pop music. What? I can't remember which The Weeknd album that it was. One from the trilogy probably, and I was like, oh, I can fix him or something like that. I got a lot of comments that were like, be careful when you say that because Abel really likes Asians. At this point, I realize I cannot fix him. He is beyond help, I do believe. Or at least everything that I've heard from The Idol and from the trilogy as well. It's just harder for me to see it as a character. Anyway, I really like Bad Bunny. It was either the 2019 awards for 2020 or the 2020 awards for 2021. Either way, I listened to every AMA nomination and Bad Bunny had my vote for the Latino category. I just really loved everything that I heard off that album. And I didn't realize like how big of an artist Bad Bunny is. It's wild. So honestly, I'm not surprised to see him on here along with The Weeknd and Travis Scott. It's just, how can you pass up an opportunity like that, you know?
Used to wanna fucking R&B bitch and that shit happened.
What a starting line. The chorus of the song has one of the album's best melodies, in my opinion. Travis's vocal effects help add to the reflective mood. It also has gorgeous production.
I can see the future is looking like we level through the skies. I can't wait to live in glory and eternal.
I love that.
Might as well turn up now. He gon' pop up unannounced to the trumpets. Do you like the way it sounds?
Oh.
You know the future of the bounce.
The fucking I discovered that the song was originally a joint effort between Kanye West and Travis Scott that underwent several evolutions. I find it interesting that this is the final release because it still comes off as unfinished or disjointed. Once again, it feels like it's trying to take me somewhere and going nowhere.
Yeah, I can see the future is looking like we level through the skies. I can't wait to live in glory and eternal. Got so much money to my skin.
Given how frequently the lyrics mention seeing the future, I think it's cute that Travis asked Future to appear on this song. It's also funny to me that Future is the only one without a verse that mentions the word future.
Name myself a planet, automatic dead when you going against my family. Few breakups, my public, I just bought another baddie. Bitch knew I was talking.
Do you like the way it sounds?
I can't get enough, don't you? I just want it all. I can't get enough, you ain't been doing enough.
Structurally, the track feels asymmetrical. It's a long 4-minute build-up to the surprise guest on this track, SZA. I appreciate the anticipation, but it might have had more impact if the trumpet played in a lower range to contrast with SZA's voice's higher register.
I can see the future.
Orchestral ending. I loved hearing SZA on here, although it sounded like her voice was a little muffled compared to everyone else. I did really like her verse though. I think she has a very strong conviction when she's singing. So this is kind of the general sense that I also got from her last album. I didn't finish it, but I listened to maybe half of it. It does seem very related anyway. I also think it's very interesting that they keep the refrain, I can see the future, because Travis says that, SZA says that at the end, but the song is called Telekinesis, which is not seeing the future. It's like being able to move things with your mind. So with that context, it's less like I can see the future, but more like I can move things to the future that I want to see. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. Also, more Star Wars references. I feel like the last time that there was a Star Wars reference this prominent, it was in the Denzel Curry album from last year. I still haven't watched it, but I caught it, so that's progress. Here's James Blake.
I don't blame you.
Oh.
You should be
What a beautifully tragic and haunting vocal performance by James. His thought process drags itself through self-deprecation, anxiety, and counterfactual thinking.
It's alright. I should have waited somehow. I shouldn't have pushed so hard. I always pushed too hard.
I love this so much.
me put yourself first. I don't really follow.
21 Savage makes an appearance for the second time. He discusses his reluctance to fall in love on this verse, which is probably the most introspective I've heard from him so far. He's just been hurt too many times before.
Whoa, never knew that I had to propose. I was fine with you being one of my hoes. Show. She said she seen us being somebody goals. What are those? I thought about giving you the key to my heart, but it's froze.
Oh my god. Oh. Overall, I'd say the album was well balanced in terms of Travis's performances. He did, in fact, give this shit his all, but didn't give a damn. So he stayed true to his word.
Watch how you take it. Can't keep no bitches, it's too dangerous. A bitch that's rated. Take everything and put it far more in love every time that I tip. I fade away.
The overdrive.
Take a sip, I've been going off the rip. I've been bumping more cold, play the world cold as shit. I know one thing about the
This is such an ominous note to leave us on, but it works so well. It encompasses a lot of the highs from the album, but doesn't feel too repetitive. I don't know where I'll go now. Wow. I think that was a brilliant closing track. I loved the chorus. I loved the first, the intro. I don't know, it just feels very haunting. It also feels very alien. It has some spacey elements to it. A very interesting direction for sure. Oh, it's produced by Metro Boomin, who also released an album recently, Heroes and Villains. I do want to listen to that because there are whispers of a Metro Boomin and JID collab, so looking forward to that. Overall, I think this was a really enjoyable listen. I don't know if I will go back to all of the tracks, definitely some of them. I really love this style that it's a little more dark, it's a little cinematic, orchestral. Definitely makes me want to give Astroworld a try. Don't know when that would be though. I have a lot that I say I will listen to and I still have not. This was a really fun album to go through. I do love the production on this. Some of the features were very interesting. Definitely makes me want to check out their projects as well. The Bon Iver and Sampha collaboration was the crossover I didn't know I needed, but it just makes sense. I have seen a lot of debate on my Twitter timeline, or X timeline, which one was a better first listen, Astroworld versus Utopia, so you let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section, and I guess we'll see what my take is later. But yeah, thank you for listening with me. Patrons know what's coming next, so stay tuned, stay safe, and be kind.